Every school represented here, every teacher in your building is somewhere on the spectrum. I'm here, I'm excited, I'm ready to go, I'm passionate, give it all to me, let me learn, let me grow, let me take all the things, and eventually I can't do this anymore. So the best way, or one of the greatest ways to communicate the thoughts that you have in your mind into the minds and hearts of somebody else is by sharing a message. When you share a message, a powerful message that connects with an audience or that connects with the teachers, that creates a desire. Experienced teachers that are gonna get promotions, congratulations for them, but now they're no longer in the classroom. Great teachers that have been around for 26, 27 years, but now they're gonna retire. Awesome, so proud. But now look at what we're left with. So if we don't pour into our new teachers the 3-5-year plan, it's not gonna be achievable. All right, I'm Daryl Williams Jr. Glad that everybody is here. I'm glad that we are locked and loaded and ready to go. Yesterday, Dr. Tron was talking about the fact that kids are different these days, but new teachers are different these days. I don't know about you, but I remember the days where we would come in early, stay late when we had to, grading over the weekends and putting in a lot of work and all the things. And now it's just like calling out, like showing up the day of with, deciding, what are we gonna do today? Let's figure this thing out. And I think there's a lot of changes with this new generation of teacher, with new teachers, whether they are young right out of college or transferring into the district. We've seen a lot of shifts in new teachers over the last couple of years, right? So that is where I center my work. That is what we focus in on. How do we really speak to and reach those new teachers in that area? My name is Daryl Williams Jr., and I help schools and districts reduce teacher turnover by helping new teachers see success before burnout. A lot of times we notice that burnout sets in before confidence has a chance to activate. And what ends up happening is that we see a lot of new teachers that are deciding, I just can't do this anymore. I don't know about you, but when I first started, I was a super passionate new teacher, super excited. I want you to think back to your early days in the classroom, your early days in education, and just remember what it was like when you first got started. I'll never forget, it was August 4th, 2014. I was just telling you, that was the first day of my teaching career. And honestly, probably the best day of my life. For real, it was like the best day of my life. I can remember I sat down and interviewed with the principal. He was the high school and the middle school, and he asked me if I wanted to work at the middle school or the high school because they had 2 math openings. And I said middle school, and he said, why? Why would you choose middle school? Nobody ever chooses middle school. But I said, I want to go to middle school. And when I stepped in on day 1, it was the greatest experience ever, honestly. I walked in, I had 31 7th grade math students. They came in, they had their hands folded on the desk, sitting so politely, right? They just listened and they were locked in when I read my 12-page syllabus. They raised their hands when it was time to go to the bathroom, and this middle school, they actually came back on that first day. It was a great day. August 5th, 2014. It's like everything changed. I don't know who was in that classroom on day 1, but day 2, they decided not to come back. They decided not to show up. They were up, they were running around, they were throwing things, they were hitting each other, they were slapping the door jamb, they were doing a worm on the floor. They were doing all the different types of things that I had no idea what was going on in that classroom. From day 2 to day 180 was the worst year of my life. And you can see it on the shirt. If you saw me yesterday, I was wearing a shirt that says former terrible teacher. It's not something that I just made up because I thought it would sound cool. It's something that I actually lived. I was a terrible teacher that first year. I had the most discipline referrals out of anybody in the building. All right, I had the worst data. I can remember, again, I was 7th grade math. They were coming in on the 5th, 6th grade level, and by the time we took the MOIs in the middle of the year, they're on the 4th, 5th grade level, going backwards. And I had no idea how to manage the classroom. And I don't know why, because in college, I had like a class on classroom management, and I got a B-, right? So I figured that I would be good. But real life was a little bit different, right? I got in there, I had no idea how to manage the classroom. And I can just remember, I decided that this is the thing that I need to focus in on. This is the thing that I'm gonna help. If I can manage the classroom, then I'll be good. So I came up with a plan. You tell me if it was a good idea or a bad idea. You're administrators, you do a lot of evaluations. You evaluate this plan right now and you let me know, okay? I said, what's gonna make sense is if students know what the expectation is. Good idea, bad idea? They need to know what the expectations are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write out the expectations on the board. Good idea, bad idea. But then I said, Daryl, how will they know if they have fallen short of said expectation? Got it. Whoever falls short of the expectation, I will take my marker and that student's name will now go on the board so they know, and everybody else also knows that they fell short of the expectation. Okay? Good idea, bad idea? It gets better. Then I said, I might have some repeat offenders. I might have some students that fall short of the expectation time and time again. What should I do? Got it. Who knows what I did? We're gonna put a check next to their name every time they fall short of the expectation. Good idea, bad idea? I said, we're gonna try this. And I went to my first block class and I implemented the names and check strategy. And true story, this is a picture of my board after the first block. It's not AI, I promise. I took this picture 10 o'clock in the morning, October 2014. I can remember that these are the consequences. I needed them to make sure they understood what the consequences were for falling short of the expectation. And whenever somebody fell short, like Tralisha got up out of her seat, and I was like, Tralisha, your name's going on the board. And she was like, I don't care, you can put my name on the board. I was like, I'm putting a check next to your name. And then Lamontavius would start laughing. I was like, your name's going on the board too. And I'll just go back and forth all day, back and forth, names and checks, names and checks. There's no math happening on this board. No content, just names and checks. But I thought that this is what I had to do. I thought that this is what was going to help me manage the classroom and finally break through the students. It never did. And now I'm feeling like this isn't for me. I can't do this. It got so hard that 6 weeks into my first year teaching, I quit. Not literally because I needed health insurance, but mentally, I was out of there. I just showed up the rest of the year giving worksheets and just teaching the kids who wanted to learn. And the reason why I'm centered in this work is because that is the story of so many teachers. And I don't know how far you went, how close you got to quitting when you were going through it. I want you to go back to your new teacher self. And so many of us come in passionate, excited, ready, but then burnout sets in before confidence has a chance to activate. New teachers come in bright-eyed and ready to go, but research shows us that new teachers go from bright-eyed to bye-bye in less than 5 years. 50% of new teachers never make it to year 5. And what I need you to understand is this is what I call the attrition spectrum. Every school in this building, every school represented here, every teacher in your building is somewhere on this spectrum. I'm here, I'm excited, I'm ready to go, I'm passionate, give it all to me, let me learn, let me grow, let me take all the things, and eventually I can't do this anymore. For some people, this is 30 years, and then I retire, cool. For some people, this is 6 weeks. But everybody is somewhere on this spectrum. The question I have for you is, what are we currently doing to combat that? Because we understand that teachers are what we need in order to hit our goals. We are students first. I saw the sign down at TASP. We're students first, 100%. We want students to reach their full potential. We want students to be their best selves. We want students to achieve all the goals and dreams that they have. In order to do that, we need our teachers. And new teachers are the biggest needle movers in education. Because if you think about it, new teachers, not only do they come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to go, but new teachers are the ones that are going to help fulfill your long-term plan. I was talking to Joe earlier. We have some people that are going to, experienced teachers that are going to get promotions. Congratulations for them, but now they're no longer in the classroom. Great teachers that have been around for 26, 27 years, but now they're going to retire. Awesome, so proud. But now look at what we're left with. So if we don't pour into our new teachers the 3-5-year plan, it's not going to be achievable. So how do we retain? Everybody is somewhere on the spectrum. If we're in the green section, then what that means is you're doing a great job. Teachers are excited. They're ready to go. We're retaining them. But how do we maintain to keep them from slipping? If you're there in the yellow section, what I call tier 2, then how do we recover from that slip that's already begun? And this is the dangerous part because that's the silent slip. Those are the ones that are showing up and you ask them everything's okay and they're like, I'm good. And then, on the intent form in February, they say, I'm coming back next year. And now you find yourself over the summer on a Zoom meeting during TASP interviewing for that role. Or you were in recovery mode. Or we're in where teachers are already leaving. We're in crisis mode and trying to figure out how to overcome. But we're all somewhere here on this spectrum. What are we currently doing to combat it? I want us to actually turn and talk to the people around us. I want to see what are some retention efforts that you are already putting into place to help focus on keeping the teachers that you need in order to hit the goals that you want to achieve.
Teachers are burning out faster than ever. Confidence is dropping, imposter syndrome is rising, and too many classrooms feel like survival instead of transformation. But what if it doesn't have to be this way? Great teaching isn't magic, it's a method. And inside the Impact Playbook, you'll discover the 6 principles that thousands of teachers are already using to reignite their passion, engage their students, and build classrooms that thrive. This isn't just another book that collects dust on the shelf. It's a complete system that helps teachers step into their strengths, prevent burnout, and create learning that sticks. If you're looking to see a drop in teacher turnover and a boost in student engagement, the principles are right here inside the book. So if you're a teacher ready to reclaim your confidence or a district leader ready to transform entire schools, click the link to get the Impact Playbook today. Because when teachers win, students win, and entire communities win, and the world is changed forever.
So when we're thinking about the retention efforts that we currently have in place, it's important to think about the fact that we know we have goals we want to achieve. We know that we want to get there. And for me, the goals are like our Super Bowl. You know, we want to say we want to achieve 95% mastery. We want 100% graduation rate. Like, we have these great goals that we want to achieve in the next 2, 3 to 5 years. And the reality of the situation is we've got to do something in order to make sure that those goals happen. And I was reading a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And in that book, it's an awesome book, a great read if you haven't read it. And he said, you know what? Lots of people have goals. Successful people have goals and unsuccessful people have goals. The CEO has a goal. The homeless person has a goal, which means having a goal is not the indicator of whether or not you will be successful. He said, because when you have a goal, it's actually the system behind it that allows you to reach it, because you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. It's great to have the goals and the things that we want to say that we want to achieve, but if there's not a system that is driving it, then the goals are not going to be achievable. And the reality is, sometimes we come and we look for different strategies. Like, I need a strategy for onboarding, I need a strategy for new teacher success, I need a strategy, I need another resource, Sometimes we look at the strategies, but strategies don't fix a fractured system. The system needs to be rebuilt from the bottom up, from the inside out, in order to truly help reach those goals. Because when the system is fractured, here are the things that we notice. Think about it. When the system is fractured, sometimes leaders, nobody in this room, but sometimes leaders unintentionally communicate doubt, and the teachers lose confidence because the leaders don't believe in me. Sometimes when the system is fractured, the teachers stop believing growth is possible and they just settle for making it. I'm just here. How many of us are going to reach our goals if teachers are just making it? PD is a check box instead of a meaningful experience. We did it. Make sure you log your PD hours on the Bitly. But we're just saying that we did it just to say that we did it, not because it's a meaningful experience. And sometimes culture ends up taking more than it gives. So good teachers quietly decide, I don't know if this is for me. So what ends up happening is when we think about the goals that we've set, when we think about reaching them in the strategic plan, it's like the goal is we wanted to reach the Super Bowl, but for some reason, we just keep falling up short. And it feels like the breakthrough is just out of reach. I don't know about you, but I would much rather look like the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles than the Dallas Cowboys that just lose in the playoffs every year. I couldn't think of another example. It's just the only one that came to my mind because I'm an Eagles fan. It's the only thing I can think of. But sometimes the breakthrough is just out of reach. All right, maybe we're a B school that has A goals that we're like, what's gonna get us over the edge, right? Or like we're maintaining, we're doing a pretty good job, but we know that there's just another level we can take it to. One of the reasons why is because there's a fracture in the system. So today we're gonna show you how to repair that system. The objective, what I wanna make sure that you get is how to create a desire within new teachers so that your existing programs are mobilized, the resources you already have are utilized, and the goals that you set are actually achieved. The beautiful thing about everything I'm going to share is that these are things that you can do in your building with the people and the staff that you already have without investing in another program or resource. These are all practical strategies and practical system building methods that you can use right now in your buildings. Is that all right? I'm going to give you the whole playbook and everything that you need to know so that you can run it, so that we can fix this system, so that we can grow. Because for me, when I think about it, when I was like a new teacher and I was struggling, the names and checks and names and checks and names and checks, I thought that a strategy was going to be successful. I thought that name and check strategy was going to be the thing, but I didn't know that I had to repair the broken system. At the end of that first year, they asked me not to come back. I was non-renewed. But if you know anything about Huntsville, Alabama, it was hard to find another math teacher. So they called me over the summer. They said, will you give us one more year? They told me I couldn't come back because I was a detriment to student safety. That was the phrase that they used, a detriment to student safety. They asked me to come back year 2, and I said, if I'm going to come back, I'm going to do this thing right. I'm going to fix the fractured system. I'm going to grow in belief and grit and tenacity. I'm going to understand what it is I need to understand in order to grow. And year 2 was a good year. I figured some things out. But year 3 is the year that I was teacher of the year for the first time. I always say that I was able to transition from that terrible teacher to a 2-time teacher of the year because I fixed the fractured system. All right, I then became an international keynote speaker where I traveled the world helping other teachers realize that they've got what it takes. A 2-time best-selling author. And I'm not saying any of this to impress you, but to impress upon you that when you fix the fractured system, success is just on the other side. So today I'm going to help you understand how to fix the fractured system. And this is what I've been doing with schools for the last 7 years, and a lot of my research is all around like how to really retain these new teachers. Not my first time in Texas. I have quite a few clients in Texas, and one school I wanted to show you, I want you to see what's possible, because the biggest thing for me is not just what I was able to accomplish, but the thousands of teachers that were trained and the hundreds of thousands of students that were impacted because teachers that want to be here decide to stay and leave a great impact. So one school that I was at recently in Austin, I've been working with them for the last 2 years. I want you to hear what Principal Varner has to say, Ms. Lydia.
If you would like for your school district to be empowered as well, you can click the link down below and our team will reach out to you.
You can listen to it later. But basically, we've achieved 100% retention over the last 2 years in that school. And it's funny, I was talking to Joe earlier. My goal is actually not 100% retention, because I don't actually think that everybody needs to be retained, right? At her school, cool, it worked. But my goal is to help you keep the teachers that you need in order to hit the goals that you set to achieve, right? So that's kind of what she was talking about, how it helped her to reach their goals. Now, I told you, everybody is somewhere on this spectrum. Everybody. Maybe you're in the green, maybe in the yellow, you're in the red, but either way, we've got to figure out where you are. It would be, I would not be a great teacher if I did not differentiate. So we need to find out where your specific school is. Really quickly, you can either scan the QR code or you can type in that URL, darylwilliamsjr.com, 1R, 1L, /health check. Based on the indicators that we're seeing in the classroom, we can determine what your health score is, meaning at what level of risk are you for losing some teachers and what should you do about it. Now, again, some of us, we're going to be a tier 1. Think about it like MTSS. We're going to be a tier 1, but everybody needs some tier 1 support. Some of us are going to be a tier 2, some of us are going to be a tier 3, but based on the indicators, I want you to respond and see what the health check says about your school. Step 3 is going to be for you to actually download the retention plan. Everybody has access to a 30-day retention plan. Step by step, what to do every week for 30 days, depending on where your school falls. And when you're done, just so I know that you're finished, step 4, just shout out at me your favorite Dallas area restaurant. So, who's in the room? If you're a number 1, give me the finger. The right one. If you're the number 1, nobody's the number 1. Nobody? Okay, it's okay. All right, level 2. We're meeting level 2. Where are my level 2s? Where are my level 2s? All right, okay. What about 3s? Do we have any 3s? We got a 3. We've got a 3. We got 2 3s. Love it. Okay. So, level 2s, that's the part that I like to spend a lot of time on. So we'll definitely talk about that today, because for level 2, that's the quiet ones. Those are the quiet ones. I'll tell you a story. So true story. True story. My school is a level 2. I'm a dean of instruction at a school here in Charlotte, not here, but in Charlotte. And my school is level 2. True story. We had a teacher that on the intent form in February, 7th grade English teacher, she said, I'm coming back. Talked to her in person during PLCs, coming back, excited for next year, all the things. We were walking around the school in March, and I heard the student say, I'm really gonna miss you next year. Now, she's a 7th grade English teacher. We go up to 8th grade. So I was like, the student's not going anywhere. Next year, there'll be an 8th grader. You'll still see you around in the building. But the students were saying, no, I'm gonna miss you, really gonna miss you next year. Guess who put in their 2 weeks last week? Today is our last day of school. I took off the last 2 days to be here. But last week, she came to the office, hey, I'm not gonna come back next year. We had a hiring fair in April where we could have found an English teacher, you know what I'm saying? But tier 2 that's what I'm saying. That's the spot where if you're not paying attention to the indicators, then that's where you notice the slip. So we would have paid attention to the indicators. Students are rumoring that, oh, this teacher so-and-so is not coming back. She was telling us she's coming back. She was telling the students, yeah, I had it. I'm not coming back next year, haha, you know? So how do we keep the slip? Tier 2, let's focus on it. Tier 2 and tier 3. This is the system before strategy framework. There are 3 drivers of new teacher retention. And this is research backed. You'll see the sources here in just a little bit again. This is what I've been working on for the last couple of years. This is the system before strategy framework. Ready to dive into it? Let's do it. We've got some time. Driver number 1 is how you see them. How you as the leaders see them. Now, when I think about it, teachers show up in places where they feel valued, where they feel supported, and where they feel like you believe in them. I like to think about it like students. We say about students all the time. Rita Pearson, they put the quote on the screen yesterday. They said, children don't learn from teachers they don't like. Well, I say, teachers don't succeed under leaders they can't stand. It's the reality. And the reason why somebody may not be able to stand their leader or stand the administrator is because they don't feel as if you see me and my potential. The question that I have for us that I need us to reflect on is right here on the screen. What are your teachers currently experiencing under your leadership? Do they feel like every time you walk into their classroom, you're looking for the problems, or do you see their potential? Is every feedback, every time you leave a message or when you speak to them, it's just like the things that they're not doing well, the things they're not doing right? All you see is the problems, or do you see my potential? Research shows that teachers continue to show up in places where they feel like they can grow. If you see my potential, I'm willing to work for you. It's funny because I always talk about the difference between students in the classroom and the students on the football field. I've seen a lot of students in the classroom that can't keep their head up, they can't stay awake, they won't hold a pencil. I gotta read the whole chapter. But on the football field, they're running up and down, they're throwing up, right? They're doing all the things. I'm like, what is the difference? Well, because people are willing to struggle for the things that they care about. As you are a leader, are you mobilizing our teachers to be willing to struggle for you? They're willing to struggle for things they care about. Number two, do we just see the gaps, or do I see the growth? Is it, this is what you're not doing, this is what you're not hitting, here's the milestone that you're not reaching, or wow, look how far you've come? There's a big difference in that communication. This is what I mean when I say that sometimes we're unconsciously communicating doubt without even thinking about it. If we continue to look at, it's kind of like looking at the horizon. I read this in the book, The Gap versus the Gain by Dan Sullivan. It's kind of like looking at the horizon. If you were to sit in a boat and see that the sunset is so pretty, and I just want to go to the horizon, and you start paddling towards the horizon, towards the sunset, are you ever going to be able to touch the horizon? No. The closer you paddle, the horizon is always going to keep moving. No matter miles and miles and miles you'll paddle, you'll never be able to touch the horizon. But eventually, you'll turn around and you won't even be able to see the shore anymore. When we communicate our expectations, do we have horizon expectations, or do we also reflect on how far they are from the beach? Is it always just, man, here, you mastered that, good, now here's the next standard. Okay, you're distinguishing in this area, okay, but now we need you to move. Is it always just the next, or when do we take time to look back at the growth and say, look how far you've come? That's the leader's job. Point that out. 3, do I see people, or do I just see the performance? Is it just the scores? Is it just the data? Or do I recognize that there's a real person here? So here are the questions that I want you to reflect on. You can screenshot this, take a picture of it. These are the reflection questions for you. This is the method to help kind of build that capacity for teachers. What does your leadership communicate when a teacher struggles? Do they believe that it's okay to struggle? It's okay to make mistakes, just like we do with students? Is it all right to not be correct all the time? Number 2, this is a big one. Do my systems create confidence or caution? I heard Do your systems create confidence or caution? Caution means I'm afraid to take risks because if I'm wrong, I don't know what's going to happen. Confidence means I can do this. What does your leadership style communicate? Do we need to walk around on eggshells in the building because I'm afraid to make a mistake? Teachers, especially new teachers, need to be able to take risks. Think about it. I heard this from Les Brown. Les Brown says, taking risks is the only way that you can grow. Growth is the only way that you can be your best. Becoming your best is the only way that you can be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? If we don't allow new teachers to take risks, and they'll never be happy, will they stay in a place they're never happy? How can we allow them to take risks in the classroom? Now, it's funny because one of the definitions of bravery is doing dangerous things carefully. Allow our new teachers to be brave. Do dangerous things carefully, knowing that I've got your back. Not everything that you do is going to be successful. Not everything you do is going to work, but I'm here with you every step of the way. We don't want them to be too cautious to take risks because, if I mess this up, But we need them to understand, be confident, and I got you. We're going to figure this thing out together. It's the only way to grow. Number 3, have you built a culture where teachers feel developed or just evaluated? There's so much research behind the fact that when I feel like I'm growing, I'll stick around. But if all I feel like is I'm being evaluated, I want to go somewhere where I'm not being looked at over my shoulder, right? So basically, the takeaway from this is that you cannot build confident teachers in a system that unintentionally creates doubt. New teachers, we said, they're bright-eyed, they're ready. But if we're communicating doubt, That's what happens to teachers that say, I don't believe I could do this. Now imposter syndrome is a real thing. Burnout sets in. Now I gotta leave. That's driver number one, how leaders see them. How many drivers did I say there are? So how many do we have left? Why are we whispering? What is Yes, there are 3 drivers. We've got 2 left. Number 2, how they see themselves. Number 1 is how leaders see them. Number 2 is how they see themselves. Earlier I was talking about how is it that new teachers, what is going on? They're just showing up and not putting in the effort that we wanted them to, or not putting in the effort that we're accustomed to seeing when we were new teachers. Well, sometimes it has to do with how they see themselves. When new teachers experience themselves growing, they stick around. We mentioned that already, but a lot of that has to do with internal work. New teachers have to grow in grit, in mindset, and drive. Research done by Angela Duckworth, Carol Dweck, and Daniel H. Pink. Actually, 3 books I recommend, and these 3 books are actually one-word titles, and these are the 3 things that teachers need. Grit was by Angela Duckworth, former teacher, Teach for America. Mindset, I'm sure you're familiar with, Carol Dweck, and then Drive is by Daniel Pink, talking about these are the things that help people, humans, stick it out. This is how you grow and stick with itness. And what a lot of new teachers don't necessarily realize is that teaching is hard. The crazy thing is, I see you nodding along. If you were to ask them if teaching is easy, nobody would say yes. I'd ask that question all over the country. I always ask, how many of us believe teaching was gonna be easy? Nobody ever, well, this is one guy one time. I was like, oh, somebody lied to you, I'm sorry. Nobody ever believed teaching was gonna be easy. But then we get into October of our first year, we get into year 2, and we realize what hard actually feels like. And it doesn't matter what school you're in. I've been in schools all over the spectrum. I've been in Title I school. My very first school, I joined Teach for America as well. My very first school was in Mississippi, Cleveland, Mississippi in 2014. We actually still had corporal punishment in 2014. We couldn't do it, but the principal could. And then I worked in 2024 at a private school in Charlotte, North Carolina, where tuition was $42,000 a year for students. It was a K-12 school. I've been all over the spectrum. Teaching is hard. In the Title I school, it was hard. I'm dealing with students that are just tough, hard home lives. It was hard. In that affluent school where I was a DEI director, I had parents coming to me. I donated $1.4 million to this organization. It was hard. It was hard dealing with them. Everywhere you go, teaching is hard. But if we can develop grit, mindset, and drive in teachers, what happens is now we grow in stick-with-itness, because again, people are willing to struggle for the things that they care about. We just got to help them develop that desire to struggle, because we know that on the other side of the struggle is where there is the success. So how do we help students or teachers grow in grit? They have to have the ability to stay engaged when things get hard, helping them to understand that they're strong enough to make it happen. But this has to be a belief that they believe on their own. Mindset, they have to believe, just like the students, that growth is not fixed. Right? Just because something doesn't happen immediately doesn't mean it won't happen eventually. I like to say, listen, every day is not a good day. Every semester is not a good semester. Every week's not a good week, but every class is a new chance, new opportunity. Let's go try again. Teachers without grit, they're done. Drive. Teachers need autonomy, mastery, and purpose. They have to feel like this work matters. Teaching is one of the careers, when you read the book, he lists some of them out. Teaching is one of the careers where people feel like this is a calling. How many of us feel like education is a calling? Right, absolutely. Now, drive, for call centers, somebody who works in a call center, most people don't say that it's a calling. Not mine, I'm not judging anybody. I worked in a call center. I'm saying that's Daniel's research. In call centers, they don't feel like it's a calling, they feel like it's a job. You can incentivize them with bonuses and they will show up and work harder. Teachers, how many of us have tried jeans passes and we tried Pizza Fridays and Amazon gift cards, and like it spikes for a moment, but then we start to see a lot of the same things, because a calling is different than a job. They need to feel like my work matters, that I have a voice and that I'm getting better. When they have that intrinsic drive, that shows up way more than a jeans pass or a Pizza Friday, 100%. But the crazy thing is, in this driver, teachers have to come up with this on their own. It's how they see themselves. So how do we do that? Well, how do you influence the way that somebody thinks? There's really only 2 channels, the way that you see something and the things that you hear. So the best way, or one of the greatest ways to communicate the thoughts that you have in your mind into the minds and hearts of somebody else, is by sharing a message. When you share a message, a powerful message that connects with an audience or that connects with the teachers, that creates a desire. My recommendation to you, the method to help build it, because again, this is not a resource that you can buy. This is not a program that you can just implement. This is something they have to come on the realization on their own. They have to themselves believe, I'm tough, I'm strong, I'm capable. It has to be an intrinsic thought. The way that we can influence that is by the words that we share with them. You can share a message that helps teachers feel seen, believe their growth is possible, reconnect to their purpose, and interpret struggle as part of the development. In the download that you just received, it actually gives you a framework for how you can do this, because the best way to connect with the minds and hearts of other people and to make sure that they retain and remember the information and feel it and create desire is with a story. That's why I love storytelling, is with a story. Because you see there at the bottom of the screen, when you share your story, teachers aren't just hearing yours, they're finishing theirs. The reason why I share my new teacher story all over the world is because I'm transitioning from a terrible teacher to a 2-time teacher of the year. They're hearing my story. They're hearing Daryl Williams. But how many of us, as I was going names and checks, thought back to something where you were like, yeah, I remember trying something that didn't work. You're hearing my story, but you're walking through your own shoes. When I transitioned to becoming a 2-time teacher of the year, best-selling author, all the great things, it's not to impress anybody or say anything like that. It's because I know that in their mind, they're finishing their story and they're saying, I can do this too. It's so powerful when you share your story as a leader, because when they're looking at you, they see you now. They don't know that you struggled as a new teacher too. They don't know what you had to go through. They don't know you're a college student. They don't know that until you share your story. Sharing your story, I like to call them activating conversations. Sharing your story with teachers is really what helps them to, one, feel connected to you, but two, it creates that desire in them. That's what we need, that grit, that mindset, and that drive. Now, there's a framework in there because I want you to tell effective stories. There's the science to effective storytelling. I don't want you to just go up to students like, back in my day when I used to, no, that's not, it might not get to them. But follow the framework and really want you to craft a story, create a story that you can communicate with them. Right? Some people bring in outside experts. That's why I go to a lot of schools, because sometimes you just got to hear from the outside, right? Sometimes you're principal and you're awesome. It's just like when I talk to my wife and I tell her, okay, I'm gonna share. I wasn't gonna share this, but it just popped in my head, so I'm gonna share it. I tell my wife she's beautiful all the time. I promise y'all. I promise I tell her she's beautiful all the time. She came home 3 weeks ago, and she had a different kind of pep in her step. She was swinging her hair, and I was like, what is going on? So she came to me, she was like, I was at Niall's car line today, and my daughter Niall, I was in the car line today, let me just tell you, this guy almost hit me with his car. I was just standing outside my car, and he just pulled up next to me. He said, I just want to let you know, you are beautiful. I was like, I tell you you're beautiful every single day. You never come home just bopping like that, all right? She said, he just came up to me. He stopped the whole car line just to tell me I was beautiful. I was like, well, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. That's awesome. She was in a good mood for like a week, right? Sometimes you just have to hear from another person, right? So that's why I go to a lot of schools. But again, you can definitely do this yourself. Share your story, connect with them, help them build how they see themselves. But if you want help with that, let me know. I come and I create an experience that generates desire, because desire is created when there is an experience that changes the way you see yourself in relation to your future. And when you share a story that is powerful and now they see their future self being successful, that's what creates desire. Now desire is generated. Now I want to show up. Now I'll put in a little bit more effort, because that's how you create desire. Changing the way they see themselves in relation to their future. How many drivers did I say there are? We've got one left. The last one is how it feels in the school, how the school feels. Again, this is not just thoughts I had off the top of my head. This is research backed. This is what leads to teacher retention. How leaders see them, how they see themselves, and how the school feels to be a part of. That's culture. We talked about it earlier, about all the things, what culture looks like. But culture is not just what you say, right? It's what your system consistently reinforces. Belonging is not just built through random gestures. It's like it helps people understand that this is where I need to be. I matter here, I'm supported here, and I'm growing here. I like to think about it like the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, they're not winning Super Bowls, but they got a lot of fans. I was born in 1992. I don't think I've ever seen a Dallas Cowboys championship. But I see their fans all the time. This is our year. It's the culture. I'm a part of a community. We do this together. Win or lose, I'm on this, I'm here. The same thing happens with teachers in our building. When there's a culture of belonging, I belong. Win or lose, we're in this thing together. I've already been to a culture workshop so far? Here, yeah. Again, there's just so many of them. Good stuff, good stuff. So you've seen a lot of strategies. I want to give you a mindset shift, okay? Let's think about this. Here's one way that we can intensify culture. I don't want to be the guy that just gives strategies, but check this out. I'll put it all on the screen at the same time. What if, based on survey data, look for the things that we are doing well? A lot of times we give the surveys, right? And we see what we're doing well, and we say, cool, we're good on that. And then we really focused on the things we're not doing well. How do we improve this? How many of us do something like that? But what if the things that we're already doing well is the exact thing that we work to improve? I'll put it like this. Amazon started off as like a book company, right? You know what they are now? About 10 years ago, Amazon was doing surveys and they asked people, what is it that you like about Amazon? People responded, I like how easy it is for me to order something online and it just shows up at my door within about a week. And they said, oh, you like that? What if we could make that happen faster? Then they partnered with UPS. You were able to get your things in 3 to 5 days. They put out another survey. They said, I love that we can get our things so quickly. It only takes 3 to 5 days. I order online, 3 to 5 days, it's at my doorstep. Amazon said, oh, you like that? How many of us have Amazon Prime? Listen, I was presenting a couple of weeks ago, forgot my clicker. Amazon Prime got me a clicker in 2 hours because they decided this is the thing that we're going to be known for. You like the fact that we get stuff to you quickly? How can we make that happen even better? With your school culture, what is it that you're known for? What is it that teachers are saying we like about this school and the school community is saying that we like about it? How can we do that better so that this is what we become known for? The thing that you want to optimize is the thing that your teachers are already saying you do well. That's where you spend your time optimizing. First of all, does that make sense? Optimizing the things that are already good. The things that are saying these are our gaps, instead of trying to figure out how to do it better, how about we figure out how to do it differently? What do I mean by that? I was reading a book by Alex Hormozy, and he says, when you can't think of a logical solution, think of a psychological one. There was a hotel that had, they put surveys out about the customer experience, and in the hotel, everybody said, you know, the food is great, the ambiance is great, but the elevators take too long. Most people would think of a logical solution, speed up the elevators. But that was super expensive, and honestly, it gets to a point where it's risky. Like, you can't make the elevator too fast. So the logical solution was to speed up the elevator. The psychological solution, guess what they did? They put mirrors on both sides of the door. So now when somebody's waiting for the elevator, like, don't even know how long it's taking for the elevator to come. After they put mirrors on the door, they did the surveys again. There was an 18% reduction in complaints about how long it took for the elevators to come. When you can't think of a logical solution, try to think of a psychological one. So the things that they're saying in your culture you're not doing well, how about don't try to think about how to do it better, how can we do it differently? If they're saying car line is taking too long, listen, we've been working on this for years, right? Maybe 18 minutes is the lowest car line you can get. Logically, we can't get it lower than 18 minutes. But psychologically, I don't know, maybe you put out some waters, put on some music, allow the teachers to create the playlist. All right, give them some umbrellas. We're gonna have a party during car line, right? Psychologically, we can shift it. Is that making sense? All right, so that's just 2 culture hacks, if you would. Ultimately, what we wanna do is we wanna make sure that teachers feel as if they belong. When I was DEI director at the school a couple of years ago, it was actually DEIB. The B stood for belonging. And this is the analogy we always used to use. We said diversity is making sure that everybody gets invited to the dance, right? Equity is making sure everybody has the funds to attend the dance. Inclusion is making sure that everybody is able to hear their favorite song played at the dance. But the B is belonging. Belonging is everybody having the ability to dance like nobody's watching. In your school, do teachers feel like they can dance like nobody's watching? Or do they feel like I gotta tighten up? Are they allowed to be themselves? Do they feel like they belong? Is this a place where I want to consistently show up? We want to foster a season of belonging. Those are the 3 drivers of new teacher retention. And you have an action plan for exactly what it is to do. Everybody has a plan. I also mentioned I have some physical copies afterwards. You can come up, you can grab them. Anybody a physical person, like just give me something in my hand. Okay, cool, I got you. They're just spread up by tier. So here's interesting. We were talking about this earlier, Joe. At this point, people are thinking, I want to shift your thoughts here. Sometimes leaders say things like, I need a better system for onboarding. We're thinking about new teacher retention. Yeah, I need a better system for onboarding. What you're actually saying when you're saying that is, I want to make sure every new teacher in my building adjusts quickly and want them to feel supported and in line with the culture, but I also have 10 million other things to do. And if I'm being honest, it gets overlooked by me and my admin staff, and although I know it should be a priority just like everything else is. That's what you're really saying. So what you need to do is really just this thing. Immediately communicate, if we're talking about onboarding, immediately communicate that you believe in them, that they're capable, and that they belong. Those are the three things that teachers need to understand in order to say, this is something that I can do and I can stick around. Now you have the action plan, but I'll give you an example of kind of like what it looks like based on the three drivers. I know we said we have a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 schools. I gave you the three drivers, true or false? True. I gave you the action plan, the 30-day, what to do for the next 4 weeks. You got it? Okay. And I told you everything that you can do is something that you can do all by yourself. Do we believe that we can do these things by ourselves with our admin staff, the team that we have? All right, good stuff. Awesome. If you're interested in saying this is a lot and maybe somebody else can help me with it, this is kind of what it looks like when I help support tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 schools, okay? For tier 2, we said we have like a lot of tier 2 schools. How we focus on driver 1, that activation conversation I was telling you, I'll come to your school and I'll give that keynote that creates that desire, have that ongoing professional development, that leadership strategy session so we can pay attention to those indicators so that we don't catch the slip, right? Or we catch them while they're slipping. And then my favorite is actually in driver 3. But in driver 2, how do we help teachers really feel empowered? We've got those quarterly resilience surveys, those quarterly retention, empowerment, right? And we help teachers really understand that you can do this and you've got this. And then lastly, driver 3 is my favorite. How do we help build culture? Every year we give annual care packages to the teachers. You see the joy that teachers get during Teacher Appreciation Week? Imagine that, but like in January, right? Where we send a package that just lets you know that we see you. We value you, we appreciate you with tangible gifts and things like that on the inside to help building that culture, but we also work with schools for ongoing culture support. If you're interested, we can definitely have a conversation about it, but you can always do these things on your own. The last thing I'll say as we land the plane is something you've never heard before, so I'll say it now. And it's that you're doing a terrible job. You're not making an impact, you're not making a difference, and you showing up doesn't matter. The reason why you've never heard that is because it's not true. You are doing an incredible job. You're doing awesome things. Lives are better because of the work that you do. And I'm just so grateful that you keep showing up. So keep doing what you're doing and keep moving the needle and you will hit all the goals you want to achieve. I promise. You got everything. Clap it up for yourselves for showing up and for the ways that you impact our students and our teachers. I appreciate you for showing up and being yourself.
I help new teachers become the teachers they've always wanted to be and make the impact our students deserve. Because I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle, to feel like I'm not enough, but I also know what's on the other side. Excitement, fulfillment, and the ability to change lives. Every great teacher was once a new teacher, and new teachers are often excited and eager and anxious, but a lot of times new teachers lack the foundational skills of effective instruction. Every teacher that I work with, I carry them through this journey, helping them master the principles of effective instruction so that they know how capable they are.
I can't wait to see these teachers enact their 1% amazing and make the difference that only they can. If you would like for your school district to be empowered as well, you can click the link down below and our team will reach out to you.